Welcome back to All Access. Today we will be discussing Rowan spring sports getting back into the full swing of things. Justin is back with his sports betting segment. Jackson is bringing you a March Madness exclusive. And then as always, we will go to the couch to discuss all things sports. All that and more on All Access. Welcome back to All Access, live from Bozarth Hall. We are here to update you on the most relevant stories in sports today. I'm Nick Rizzo.
And I'm Aiden Doherty, and we are back. But last time I was here, I had a perfect bracket. Let's just say we are in a different time.
I would definitely say so. All I have to say about that, and then I'm going to move on, is I had Houston losing in the first round. And obviously that did not happen.
Kentucky winning the whole thing, and
yeah.
I stopped watching after that game. We moved on to baseball season. We'll touch on that later, and Jackson will talk about that tournament or whatever that people care about.
Well, yeah, whatever. I no longer care about it because, like you said, Kentucky was also my runner-up, so they failed us both. Yeah. But, you know, Jackson, hopefully he could bring you some better opinions with that. Don't trust us in the college basketball world. But with that being said, it's time to jump into some Rowan sports. The train is rolling for Rowan softball as they've now won 9 straight since starting the season 6-5. Most recently, the team swept doubleheaders against Haverford and Rosemont, which featured shutdown pitching, explosiveness up and down the lineup, and even a no-hitter thrown by ace Riley Lutz, the first for Rowan softball since 2019. Now, since Kim Wilson's squad lost both games of a doubleheader against number 2 nationally ranked Salisbury, they've outscored opponents 112-28 and have won 13 out of their last 16 games. As Michael Jordan would say, they took that personal, as they're rolling at the perfect time with conference play set to begin today against Kane.
Keeping it on the diamond, Rowan baseball started their season off with a 1-run loss, but backed it up with winning 12 of their next 13. They went 8-1 in Florida and made the Sunshine State not so sunny for some other teams. This got them awarded with being the 7th-ranked team in D3 baseball. Phil Sedalis leads the way in average with a .500 average. Dylan Maria has led the team in long balls with 9 and RBIs with 33. The captain Tyler Cannon and his running mate Jason Morgan are 2 hitters hitting well above 400, helping Rowan offense explode for over 10 runs a game. When it comes to the bump, Mike Shannon has led the way with 4 starts and a 3-0 record. He has 4 straight appearances with 3 earned runs or less allowed. He had a complete game, against number 10 ranked Aurora, where he allowed just 2 runs and had 9 strikeouts. They are coming off a loss against number 15 ranked Johns Hopkins, 12-8 on the road. Dylan Maria tied it in the 8th with a single, but the Blue Jays responded with 4 in the bottom half of the inning. The Profs now look to bounce back and face Kane in a doubleheader tomorrow for their first games in NJAC conference play.
Rowan Swim made an appearance at the National Championships last weekend, with Ella Pennington representing the women and the duo of Jack Watson and Michael Fracciola swimming for the men. All 3 swimmers did exceptionally well, as Pennington broke her own school record in the 200 backstroke, earning herself an All-American honor. For the men, Watson stamped his 2nd straight All-American nod, placing 16th in the 100 backstroke. Fracciola did not qualify for the finals, but nonetheless, having 3 swimmers compete at the biggest stage is certainly an accomplishment that head coaches Elise Fisher and Brad Bowser will hang their hat on.
Another spring sport, women's lacrosse, is not off to a hot start to begin the season like the other teams. After winning their first 2 games, they've lost 6 of their last 7 games. 4 of their 6 losses have come by just 1 goal. They are most recently coming off losses to Cabrini 12-7 and Scranton 12-11. Before that, they picked up a massive 18-4 win against Clarkson. They had 4 players with 3 or more goals. Elena Corson, Callista Burke had 4 apiece, and Alexis Lowry and Molly Green both had 3. They are 2 weeks away from NJAC conference play and have 3 games until then. They still have time to be like Aaron Rodgers and run the table, and it starts with Stevenson on Thursday. Spring sports are picking up, Nick, and softball and baseball, I think they're almost like the jewel here at Rowan.
Absolutely. Obviously, a lot of success last season for those 2 teams. That is continuing into this season. And the weather's getting warmer too. That's always a good thing. And Phillies opening day today.
Didn't you mention that?
That's good for me and Aiden Doherty, us Phillies fans. And the Yankees fans on All Access were very excited about their win yesterday. Classic Yankees baseball, April World Series champions. But that's a story for another day. So we're going to end the Rowan Sports segment now. It's time to throw it over to Justin with his popular segment, Double J, Double Down.
What's up, everybody? My name is Justin. Usually I have my main man Jackson right next to me, but don't worry, you'll see him in a bit. Anyway, I'm feeling hot going into this weekend. Here's what I got. For the first bet, I'm going to go with the number 4 seeded Duke Blue Devils, plus 4.5 over the number 1 seed in the South region, the Houston Cougars. The Blue Devils are led by freshman guard Jared McCain, who's coming off a hot 30-point game last Sunday versus James Madison in the round of 32 on 10 for 15 shooting from the field and 8 for 11 from beyond the arc. They have a hard task on their hands in Houston that leads all of Division I in opponent points per game allowed. But with an Elite 8 berth on the line, Duke has more experience, and with a win, look for their first national championship since 2015, and it starts with taking down the Houston Cougars tonight on Friday. For my second bet, I'm going to head over to the baseball diamond. MLB opening day was on Thursday, and all but 4 teams were in on the action. My pick for Friday night, I'm taking the New York Yankees, plus 1.5 over the Houston Astros. Game 1 on Thursday between the two teams came down to the wire with Juan Soto throwing out Dubon at the plate in the bottom of the 9th inning to save the game. The momentum from Game 1, I believe, will carry on into Game 2, and the Yankees that came back initially down 4-0 in Game 1 and won by a final score of 5-4. Superstars Aaron Judge and Juan Soto combined for 2 for 7 in the at-bats, and I could see one of the two superstars going for their first multi-hit game of the season. Now let's hear what Jackson thinks about the month of March.
Thank you for talking with me today. First things first, myself and many others consider you a fashion mogul. So I just have to say, looking dapper as always today, just like you do every morning on First Take.
Thank you.
Jumping right into it, obviously the host of First Take, NBA analyst, have your own podcast. Obviously your memoir right here, this is my personal copy with a black Sharpie behind it. But anyway, you do a whole sort of things, and you may be interested in jumping into the late night host game soon. So I just gotta say, you're the top of your game right now, but you're always wanting more. You're always jumping on that next opportunity. What is that? What drives you to take these new chances in these other fields?
Well, first of all, if you're not going to take chances, then you're not living. Mm-hmm. You know, at some point in time, you got to bet on yourself in some capacity. You can't expect people to believe in you more than you believe in yourself, and expect to thrive. It's okay to doubt yourself sometimes. It's okay to go through those doldrums, but you can't live there. You got to live in a place that entails some level of courageousness, a willingness to move forward and march forward and expose yourself to potential failures. That's how you find out who you are and what you're made of. It's not by things being comfortable. It's about facing adverse circumstances and having a willingness to challenge yourself to overcome those things. So that's number one. Number two, I think that also you don't want to get bored, because you get to a point where you're doing something, and if that's all you're doing, there's a level of complacency that comes with that as well. I have found this comfort zone, and I know under no circumstances am I going to fail here. Well, guess what? I don't have to do anything else. Now, some people might look at certain professions, like, for example, you look at coaching. You might say, well, they're coaching, that's all they've ever been, is a coach, right? But you're not looking at every season is a new season. Yeah. And so every season is starting over. One of the greatest conversations I had was a one-on-one when Nick Saban sent the plane to pick me up to come down and talk to the football team. And before I talked to the football team, he sat with me in his office for an hour and sat down with me. And he talked about, this was after they won the national championship. And he was like, what do? You start over and you keep going. You start over and you keep going. He said, because that was last year, but the next year is coming, and it's a new season. And people miss that, for an example, like a coach, every year is a new challenge. Mm-hmm. In our profession, it's not about the year. It's about the job. It's about the responsibility. It's about the occupational hazards that come with it. It's creating new challenges to broaden your horizons and uplift you and to challenge yourself even more.
Very true, very true. One last thing here, September 21st, 2023. I'm sitting third row, final plate of the Yankee game, and you come strolling out. You walk by everyone chanting your name, and I threw out a Go Cowboys, and you looked at me with disgust and gave me a thumbs down. But you keep going on first base line, you start warming up, and you head to the mound, and you know what happens next. You bounce one. But Stephen, I just got to ask, like, what more can we do next time? Maybe a few more throws, maybe an energy drink to get you going. Maybe was I in your head with the Go Cowboys? If so, I apologize. But if you get that opportunity again, what are we going to do next time to make sure?
Well, first things first. I'm going to actually spend some time on a mound instead of walking up to a Major League Baseball mound for the first time in my life, which I had never done until that day. Secondly, I'm not going to have on red-bottom Christian Louboutin shoes.
Those were very nice. I did notice those.
Yeah, but what happened is that I walk up there, and as I'm walking up there, I step in and I slipped up.
Really?
And so what happens is I'm slipping up as I walk up. I'm like, oh my God, I almost bust my butt.
Really?
And then I turned around and I saw the distance between the mound and home plate, and I said, good Lord, what have I done? Because it looked like a mile away. It didn't look like the 60 feet 6 inches when I was throwing the ball in front of the Yankees dugout. It was an entirely different thing there. Then you start thinking about, okay, you got to step down, you got to throw, you got to follow through. I might bust my butt on national television. I ain't doing that. So I hope that I'll get this right, but I didn't. It was clearly a choke job, and that's a lesson for everybody. First of all, I'm always prepared when I go on television. I was not prepared when I stepped on the mound. And secondly, you got to own it. You can't sit in a chair like mine and come up with excuses. Nope, that's what happened. It was a choke job on my part. They're going to give me another chance next year. I'm going to make up for that chance.
And I'll be there.
And then, you know, you just go from there. But it was all in fun. I wish I had done better, but that's life. And that's what happens. You pick yourself up. I didn't die. I just threw a bad pitch. I get up next time. I'll do better.
Understood. Looking forward to it. Thank you.
No problem.
Appreciate it.
All right.
It was good to see our sports producer, Rob, sit down and have a talk with Stephen A. I'm sure Stephen's interested in seeing which way March Madness will finish this year. I'm Jackson, and Christmas came early with the way these games are being played out. Let's take a look at what I have moving forward. We're going to go over the Sweet 16, the Elite 8. First game, Houston versus Duke. I agree with Justin. I think Duke will win this game. I just think Kyle Filipowski's too much for Houston down low. Also, Duke's guards match up pretty well against Houston. Second game, Marquette versus NC State. I love the Cinderella run, I really do, but Marquette's a complete team. They got Tyler Kolek at the point, O.C. Iguodala in the paint, and I think they're going to be too much for this NC State team moving forward. Moving on, we have Purdue versus Gonzaga. Battle of the big man here. Graham Ike for Gonzaga, transfer from Wyoming, versus two-time Naismith Player of the Year, Zach Edey. And I think Edey's going to be too much. Also, Purdue's guards have been playing pretty well. Leishan Lee, Brady Smith, Foster Laurier. I think they can, if they're able to shoot well, Purdue will easily win this game. Creighton, Tennessee. In my opinion, the best game of the night by far. 2 seed versus 3 seed. Creighton coming in. A little shaky game against Oregon, won in double overtime. And Tennessee also a shaky game. They only shot 12% from 3, but I think Dalton Knecht will pick it up tonight, and Tennessee will move on. Moving to the Elite 8, UConn versus Illinois. Both these teams looked pretty good last night. I mean, UConn dominated for the 3rd time this tournament, and Illinois took care of the #1 defense of the country in Iowa State. I just think UConn's too much. They're the most complete team in the country, and they'll take down Illinois and move on to the 2nd consecutive Final Four. Alabama versus Clemson. I don't think anybody expected these teams to be here. Maybe Bam, but nobody thought Clemson would be here. And I think Clemson's going to move on. I think P.J. Hall is going to control the paint. I said that about Armando against Alabama last night, but I think P.J. Hall is going to do it, and I don't think Bam is going to shoot like they did last night. Clemson moving on to the Final Four. Moving on to the Elite 8 on the other side, Duke versus Marquette. I have Duke moving on here. I think Filipowski's a great matchup against Iguodala. I think he's a little more physical. And I think Tyler Kolek, being the veteran he is, will be able to control the game from the point position. And I think it'll be a close game, but I believe Duke. I think Duke will move on. Purdue versus Tennessee. Great game here. I don't really think Tennessee is a big man to match up against Edey, so that's why I have Purdue moving on here. And so my final four so far is UConn, Clemson, Duke, Purdue. Now over to the couch with Greg, Jordan, and Sam.
Welcome back to All Access. I'm Jordan Weisinger. Alongside me are Sam Prince and Greg Mazzo, and we have quite a bit to discuss today, starting off with NFL free agency. Guys, the Eagles brought in guys like Saquon Barkley. The Jets brought in guys like Mike Williams. Who do you think is the biggest splash for an NFL team this free agency, and who do you think is best set up for the NFL drafts? Greg, I'll start with you.
I actually think it's the Atlanta Falcons getting Kirk Cousins. I thought that was the biggest move of the offseason, and I'm going to explain why. Because we saw last year with the Falcons, they had Arthur Smith as their head coach, and it never really worked out. But they have a lot of talent on their offense with Bijan Robinson, Drake London, Kyle Pitts. He didn't really get those guys involved, and they didn't really have a quarterback. They had Desmond Ridder starting all those games last year. Now you get Kirk Cousins, who's a proven quarterback in this league. I think the Atlanta Falcons are going to win the division this upcoming season, and I think with a new head coach and Raheem Morris, he will be a big reason why, and Kirk Cousins will be the guy that leads the charge for them.
So, Greg, that's an excellent point. I do also think Kirk Cousins is one of the best free agency pickups this year for the Falcons and just in general. But if healthy, it'll be Tyron Smith to the New York Jets, because the Jets had absolutely no protection, because Rodgers needs all the protection in the world, because of that line can protect Rodgers, and that team gets healthy. The Jets are going to be scary this year.
Here's the issue with the Jets, though. I don't trust Robert Saleh as their head coach. I mean, what has he really done in the 3 years? You can talk about, well, last year he didn't have Aaron Rodgers, but the last 2 years he's had some great defenses, and he has not been able to get the job done. You can talk about whoever they had as quarterback, but still, you had a great defense. You've had weapons on offense like Garrett Wilson and Breece Hall, and they just haven't been able to get over the hump. But yes, I do agree that getting Aaron Rodgers back, if he fully stays healthy this year, and adding Tyron Smith to that offensive line will really help out. But like you said, they got to stay healthy.
Yeah, no, Greg, the question was who would the best pickup, not if Robert Saleh could coach it. We could discuss that another time.
I mean, we could discuss it another time, but like the Jets still have other issues on their offensive line other than Tyron Smith, though.
Both respectable takes. I think we can agree there that the Jets made some good moves as well as the Falcons. But now moving on to baseball. Opening day was yesterday, excluding the games in Korea a week ago. What is your guys' favorite opening day memory? And we saw a bunch of great games yesterday. We saw a 14-run third inning rather, from the Arizona Diamondbacks. We saw a classic Yankee moment, quotes from Aaron Judge about Juan Soto's debut with the Yankees, and just overall good baseball yesterday. What is your guys' favorite moment from yesterday, and overall growing up, what's your favorite thing about opening day? Sam, we'll start with you.
My favorite moment of yesterday was the out, Soto to Trevino for the out. Look, the Yankees had a comeback win. I think the whole game was just the vibe. It was a roller coaster of a day for a Yankee fan. I know Greg and Jordan, you're all Yankee fans too. Great day all around. And my favorite memory growing up, I don't think I have. Oh, I do. Was Stanton's first at-bat as a Yankee.
Ooh. You know, I would say before yesterday's opening day, I would have to agree with you, Sam, because look, before opening day yesterday, I would say Giancarlo Stanton's debut as a Yankee on opening day, hitting 2 home runs, was probably my favorite moment. But I thought yesterday's game topped it. Juan Soto, the Yankees coming back from 4-0. Juan Soto threw Dubon out at home plate to pretty much win the game. That was a play of the game right there. I mean, I really can't think of any other moment that was better than that. I mean, it's hard to disagree, you know, as Yankee fans ourselves, and like think about what other teams are, because we're so big on our team. We might sound a little biased, but you know, we're all about our baseball teams. We like to follow what goes around the league and stuff. But you know, it'll be an interesting baseball season for what it's going to bring to this season.
Is there any other news from around baseball that you guys might want to share that you thought was interesting?
I really want to point out, Ellie De La Cruz learned English this off-season, that he wants to communicate with the fans, and he wants the fans to hear what he says to reporters. I just want to point that out. That's very hard to do, learn another language, and let alone to do it for the fans. I think we just have to give a lot of respect up for Ellie De La Cruz. Clap it up for him.
I mean, that's pretty impressive to learn a different language. I don't even know if I can do that. I mean, I took Spanish classes in high school and middle school, and I still can't understand really Spanish in my lifetime. I mean, I know a few words, but I don't really know too much about that. So, I mean, it's really difficult to learn another language, but you know, I mean, there's just a lot that goes on around baseball. You see great moments like that one, and that's a good point you brought up, Sam.
Yeah, fabulous points. And that'll do it for All Access. Thank you guys for tuning in. Once again, I'm Jordan Weisinger alongside me, Sam Prince and Greg Mazzo. Thank you for tuning in, and have a great rest of your day.